Hey everybody, what's up? Just Aaron here, Question Period Canada. What I thought would be a fun thing to do on a random night, like, because tonight's pretty random, is to show like Pierre Poilievre and then Justin Trudeau. Like, who do you prefer? Like, who would you rather listen to? So we're gonna jump right into that.
Merci à tous d'être ici pour cette annonce qui va aider à créer plus de logements plus rapidement ici à Brampton. People across the country are struggling with the rising costs of housing. And in Brampton, you're feeling it acutely. This is a community that is only getting bigger. In fact, Brampton is one of the fastest growing municipalities in Canada. Well, you need more housing to keep up with the demand, and you need it to be built faster and built in convenient, connected places. Well, that's what our housing accelerator is all about.
He's got this
and why I'm
dope
so
with
excited to be announcing that we have reached an agreement with the City of Brampton. Today, we're announcing that Brampton is the next city to receive significant funding from our housing accelerator, and we estimate that this will mean more than 24,000 new homes over the next decade, with 3,100 fast-track to be built in the next 3 years alone. As part of this plan, we'll see houses built near transit stations like the nearby GO station, near main streets and downtown, places that are convenient, places where people want to live, places where people can have the very best quality of life. Sean va pouvoir nous partager plus de détails dans un instant, mais je sais qu'il travaille fort pour conclure d'autres ententes comme celle-là. C'est la 5e entente qu'on a avec une grande ville depuis qu'on a lancé le fonds pour accélérer la construction de logements, et je sais qu'il va en avoir d'autres un peu partout à travers le pays. So the cost of living is putting a lot of pressure on the middle class and people working hard to join it, which is why we've been making sure to deliver real relief. We're delivering support for families by bringing the cost of daycare down, with it on track to reach $10 a day. And today, eligible families will receive their monthly Canada Child Benefit payments. This is hundreds of dollars tax month that makes a huge difference in the lives of millions of Canadians. This important support increased just in July to keep up with inflation, which means this year a family could receive up to almost $7,500 a year tax-free. We delivered the grocery rebate, and we're working to bring relief at the checkout counter through both legislation and our conversations that are holding big grocers to account. We're tackling junk fees and taking action to reduce banking fees. On a éliminé les intérêts sur les prêts canadiens aux étudiants et aux apprentis, et les prestations que les aînés reçoivent chaque mois augmentent pour suivre l'inflation. We know that the cost of housing is one of the biggest stresses each month. And after decades of inaction by previous governments, our government has been getting to work, investing in affordable housing and programs to help people through the National Housing Strategy, which helped build that project 2 years ago, the tax-free First Homes Savings Account, and more. We need more housing, more collaboration with great partners across orders of government, more investment from private and nonprofit partners, and of course, more shovels in the ground. We need to work together to build homes so people can build their lives, families, and futures they want. We've faced big challenges as a country before, and we're ready to tackle them now.
What is that fool Sean Fraser doing next to him?
What today is all about.
Nothing.
On travaille avec des partenaires de partout au pays pour s'assurer que la promesse du Canada tienne. Cette promesse d'améliorer la qualité de vie à chaque génération.
Is that he's bilingual.
Canada is the best country in the world. Let's keep working to make it even better. Merci beaucoup, mes amis.
Hard to watch.
It is with a combination of heartbreak and outrage that I join with all of you here today. Heartbreak for the innocent mothers,
sincere though,
babies, grandparents, party-goers, peace activists who suddenly and inexplicably lost their lives at the hands of an unprecedented terrorist attack, and outrage at the attackers. And so, in starting my remarks tonight, let me be explicitly clear. Hamas is not a militant organization. It is not an activist organization. It is surely not a government. It is a sadistic, demonic, genocidal, terrorist death cult, and it must be defeated and destroyed. The incredible carnage that this terrorist death cult has unleashed in the last 72 hours would be bad enough were it not for the apparent pleasure and sadistic pride with which it was carried out. And so I say to those who might not perhaps have strong opinions about the Middle East, what kind of organization would carry out such hideous violence against such obviously innocent people and do it in the most cruel and odious manner and then willingly publicize it for all the world to see? This is evil in its purest form, and that evil must be defeated. Hamas does not speak for the Palestinian people, it does not speak for Muslims, and it surely does not speak for Canadians. And that is why I unreservedly condemn any and all who took part in the disgusting celebrations that we have seen on our streets the last several days. It is now for Canada to stand with Israelis as they carry out their right and obligation to defend themselves, to provide any support we can, and intelligence, and in any other way, to ensure there is high quality consular services for every Canadian citizen who may be stranded or in need of any assistance whatsoever. And I know that members of Parliament for all parties will be united in that purpose. Prime Minister.
It's got to be heard to say good things about your Prime Minister.
MP MacLeod, MP Aria.
It's got to be
Mr.
heard
Mayor,
now.
I know we will all be working together to frantically bring assistance to any of our Jewish brothers and sisters or people of any other faith who may for any reason be in distress in the Middle East at this time. And I encourage everyone here to donate generously to the beautiful charities who are helping to come to the rescue, charities like Magan David Adam and countless others. Let us all be generous with them in this time. And Canada must call for an investigation into how this attack was so well coordinated.
That was pretty crazy when it happened.
It is clear to me that the regime in Iran has been the greatest actor of evil and terrorism on the world stage, and we must work day and night to defeat that regime. And that includes criminalizing the IRGC so that they can never use this as a safe operating ground in which to do their horrible work.
The IRGC is a real issue in Canada. Got to get rid of it, but
I want to thank the rabbi for his beautiful psalm, Psalm 23, one of my favorite. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me, O Lord. It is hard, almost impossible, to have any sense of hope in a time like this. But I do have hope for not just for the people in this room and for the Jewish people across our country, but for the Jewish state of Israel. Because Yisrael Hai. The Jewish people are the only people who live as the same people on the same land, worshiping the same faith in the same language as 3,000 years ago. There have been monsters of all shapes and sizes and types who have attempted to destroy the Jewish people, but they have never succeeded. The Israeli people are eternal in the defense of their homeland, of their faith, and their culture. One of my greatest memories was taking Shabbat with a rabbi from London, Ontario, who had made Aliyah and gone to Israel, and his 7 kids sitting there singing the same beautiful songs that would have been sung on that same land 3 millennia earlier. That is a story of survival. And so I pledge the continuing friendship of His Majesty's loyal opposition, of the Parliament of Canada, indeed of all Canadians. We stand with you in these horrific times. Our bond of friendship is strong, and our faith in the future is complete. So may you keep that faith and stand strong and hold true as you always have. Yisrael Hai. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Here we go. Back to Justin Trudeau. It's going to go downhill.
To be here with both Ryan and Mark, 2 amazing, strong MPs, members of our team, who are strong voices for the region.
It's going to be hard to blow cocaine up there with all that wind
around here. Deputy Mayor Crawford, Marilyn, thank you so much for your words. You're welcome, and mostly for all your hard work as well. Your council has been extraordinary, as Mark has said, on moving forward on affordability measures, on unlocking the potential of building new homes here in Ajax, and it's really exciting. But you know, we're happy to work with you. Mark is incredibly proud of representing this region. As he sits around the cabinet table as our health minister, he is keeping at the forefront the real needs of people, not just in this community, but around the country. Now, as Mark was saying, just behind me on my right, this apartment building at Pat Bailey Square was built with the help of federal loans. And Mark, as you said, you were at that announcement back in 2019. And now, more than 300 people and families have new homes in this apartment. And we continue to build and build even faster. As you can see, there's another project or 2 being built on my left, where the crane is. And Mark, you were there to announce that one as well 2 years ago. These are all real results for Canadians, and the great examples that show that the best way to solve housing challenges is to work together. Together with the private sector, like we did here in Ajax with Abraham Bleeman, who's joining us today, President of Medallion Development. I was incredibly touched by his story. Coming here and having people not willing to rent to him because he was starting a family. And he made a commitment that he was going to make sure he was building units for housing in the coming years, and he started in the 50s.
Where are the houses
them today,
though?
all these years later. Thank
There's
you,
just
not just
promises
for your initiative
of houses
and for your
later.
leadership,
Like,
but thank you for being the embodiment of the Canadian dream in so
are they
many
being
ways.
built in your
and to all your
communities?
family.
Like, where are they being
These
built?
are real results. But by working in partnership with provincial and municipal governments, Ajax continues to be proactive in pushing new initiatives for housing. Recently, the city approved more measures, including permitting 4 residential units as of right on a single lot. So thank you again, Marilyn, for your leadership, and I look forward to continuing our work together with you and Mayor Collier to build the homes people need. Because whether it's here in Ajax, across the GTA, or anywhere else in the country, the promise of Canada needs to be the same. The promise that every generation can reach even higher than the generation before. Well, as a
Dangling
government,
a carrot,
we are focused
right?
on securing that promise, and housing
Trudeau's fake,
is at the
man.
center of that work.
I think.
We're facing a shortage of housing right now, and this is a big reason why prices are just way too high. So we need to build more homes faster. That's exactly what we're doing, for example, with the Housing Accelerator Fund. We're working with provinces and municipalities to remove barriers, to allow more density, to fund affordable housing projects and get permits rolling. The announcements we've made so far through this fund are going to fast-track tens of thousands of homes across Canada over the next few years alone, and tens of thousands more in the years ahead. We need more homes Canadians can buy, and we need more homes Canadians can rent. I just met people earlier who live in the apartment building I mentioned before, with affordable units in it. I met Tim, who's an engineering designer who is proud to say he works just down the road, because being able to live and work in growing communities makes a huge difference. And Yassine, I was proud to say that he not only lives in this building, but works in an auto assembly nearby, and was chuckling that it is his wife who has to commute in to Markham every day, but he gets to do work from here. And this is what we need to build, not just have communities like Ajax depend on commuting into Toronto or into large cities, but actually be able to grow and flourish and create strong communities and a strong future right here. And that's what these investments with the Housing Accelerator are all about. These are the kinds of results that we're focused on in creating opportunity for Canadians to grow, live, work, and play in great communities right across the country, like Ajax. À travers le pays, on a besoin de plus de logements, y compris plus d'appartements locatifs. C'est pour ça qu'il y a 2 semaines, on a annoncé de l'aide pour construire plus de 12 000 logements à travers le pays avec notre programme de prêt pour la construction d'appartements. Et on a ajouté des investissements dans ce programme dans l'énoncé économique de l'automne.
Anybody mind if we just skip to the next one?
But of course, when it comes to how
the last
I screwed that up.
3 days in Canada, Saturday night, a 16-year-old boy stabbed to death at a Toronto subway in an unprovoked attack by a repeat offender. Sunday evening, a father stabbed to death outside of Vancouver Starbucks with his wife and daughter present. Sunday night, a man stabbed on a Toronto City bus and taken to hospital. Monday night, a sergeant, a police officer, killed near Trois-Rivières. And in the early morning of this day, a young girl shot to death in Calgary. This is part of the 32% increase in violent crime since the Prime Minister took office. Will he reverse the policies that caused them?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we are, like all Canadians, deeply concerned with some of the very heinous crimes that we've seen over the past number of days. The increase in violent attacks on innocent Canadians and on those serving the public through law enforcement is extremely concerning. That's why we will continue to be there to make investments in public safety. Unlike Conservatives who cut funding for police officers, we've invested in public safety. We invested in municipal police officers as we've invested in community safety programs, as we strengthened gun control, as we've continued to strengthen consequences for violent offenders. We will continue to be there to keep Canadians safe.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
People are tired of hearing about his concern. They want to
Do you
know
believe
what he's
Trudeau
going to
at
do
all?
to reverse the damage he's caused.
That's the thing. I think I'm normal. Like, I trust
Repeat
people
violent offenders
generally.
back out in the street again and again, sometimes released the very same day. In Vancouver, the same 40 violent offenders were arrested 6,000 times in a year.
Listen to
That's
this one.
150 arrests per criminal per year as a result, a direct result of the Prime Minister's easy bail system. Will he replace bail with jail for repeat violent offenders?
I'm not a big guy on punishment, but like, you've got to keep the convicts in jail, right?
On bail
Like,
reform, including working
right?
with the provinces to ensure that we have a fair and responsible system that keeps Canadians safe right across the country. But if the member opposite was really serious about moving forward on keeping communities safe, he'd back our upcoming Bill 21 at third reading to make sure that we're keeping assault weapons out of the hands of people across this country, that we're strengthening gun control to freeze handguns, that we're continuing to move forward instead of being in the pockets of the NRA to focus on Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Unbelievable. He thinks that a hunter in Nunavut is responsible for the stabbings in downtown Vancouver. How ridiculous. Under his policy of targeting law-abiding citizens while we're allowing repeat violent offenders to go out on the street again and again, we've seen a 32% increase in violent offenses. And in fact, one of the detectives close to the case in Toronto said that the offender was out again on numerous releases. Probation, prohibited bail, you name it, he's been released on it. This is a full-scale justice system failure. Will he reverse it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, amidst all this tragedy, it's interesting to see the lengths to which the Conservative leader will go to avoid talking about his desire to weaken gun control in this country.
This
to
is
bring
one of the
assault weapons back
tactics
into
the Liberals
communities where they
use
were
most
banned over
often
the past couple of
that
years
drive
by
me
this
nuts.
government. We've put a freeze on handguns, the market across the country.
just
We're strengthening gun
distracting
control,
people.
and every step of the way,
think,
the
I'm
Conservative
pretty
Party
sure.
stands against it, Mr. Speaker. And that's why I'm asking them, with their concerns about public safety right now, will they step up and accelerate the passage of C-21 when it comes back to this House for third reading?
Leader of the Opposition.
When we were in office, in the last year, there was 124,000 fewer violent crimes than there was last year. Violent crime, including murders, have skyrocketed under this policy of this Prime Minister. He's targeting law-abiding hunters and farmers rather than the repeat violent offenders who are committing the crime. Why won't he look at the evidence which has demonstrated that our streets have now turned into war zones after 8 years of his policy, and will he replace bail with jail for repeat violent offenders?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite himself brought up what they did under the Harper government in those years. What they did was loosen
still
gun
talks about the
control
Harper
laws.
government.
What they did was make it easier for people to buy
2011?
assault-style weapons, and that led to direct increases in gun ownership and, unfortunately, in violent crime across the country. That's why we're trying to bring back stronger gun control legislation, despite the Conservatives' ideological opposition to gun control. We will continue to put the safety of Canadians and their communities first. We will continue with stronger gun control laws right across the country.
Such a
A
weirdo.
moment ago, I listed 4 stabbing deaths that have happened in the last 3 days, including a police officer. And the Prime Minister glibly got up and said, well, he's going to ban hunting rifles. Stabbings happen with knives, not hunting rifles. Perhaps that's why we see a 32% increase in violent crime since this Prime Minister took office. He's not looking at logic or facts. It's the criminals wielding the knives that are doing the killing. Does he really believe that banning rural hunters will stop knife crime in big cities?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
It's so ridiculous that it's not funny. Like,
Deserve to feel
oh my
safe,
God,
and
who's this
Canadians
guy?
Must be able to feel safe in their communities. That's why, Mr. Speaker,
What
on
the
March
hell?
10th, I met with my provincial counterparts.
I didn't
my
scan all
territorial
the clips,
counterparts,
guys.
To work on bail reform, to include repeat violent offenders, to include crimes with knives, Mr. Speaker. We
Is
have
that
a
Trudeau?
I invite the honourable
Like,
member to read the joint communique.
how much coke
that
did
came
he
out of
do?
that federal
Like-
provincial territorial meeting of justice and public safety ministers, and we are moving ahead with that plan.
What
The
the
Honourable Leader
hell
of the
just
Opposition.
happened?
The question was for the Prime Minister, who didn't have the guts to get up and answer.
Run away.
Did not have the guts to get up and answer it. A moment ago, I listed 4 murders and near murders that happened with knives in the last 3 days. This is part of a massive crime wave that the Prime Minister's catch and release bail system has unleashed right across the country. We did not have crime like this before he took office. His solution? Ban hunting rifles in rural communities. Mr. Speaker, I ask him again, does he really believe that banning hunting rifles in rural communities will stop knife crime in downtown cities?
It's oh, whoops. So that is something that the Liberals would do, though.
Shalom.
Oh no,
Bonsoir.
this is going to be a long one.
11 days ago,
If he's opening with
terrorist
Shalom,
organization
it's
Hamas
going to be a long
launched
segment.
an attack of unspeakable brutality.
It's so fake.
We've all heard the stories of the murder, kidnapping, maiming, and acts of sexual violence of innocent people, of the elderly, and It's painful for us to even think of it, of children and babies. I'm sure most of you in this room personally know someone or many people who were affected. Je suis conscient que le fait de ne pas savoir ce qui arrive à des proches, de savoir que le danger n'est pas écarté, suscite de l'inquiétude. Plusieurs des histoires qu'on entend sont aussi des histoires canadiennes. On est un pays divers et on a des liens concrets avec des événements à travers le monde. We were devastated to know that it was the deadliest day for Jewish people since the Holocaust, and Canadians were among those killed. Alexandre Luc from Montreal died after calling his parents to let them know he loved them. Ben Mizrahi from Vancouver was known for being larger than life and tried to save people once the attack at the music festival began. Shir Georgie was just 22 when she was killed. Netta Epstein died jumping on a grenade to save his fiancée. Adi Vital Kaploun, who had roots here in Ottawa, died on her kibbutz after making sure her killers spared her 2 young children. And Tiferet Lapidot had Canadian parents. She was just turning 23. May their memories be a blessing. Our hearts are broken.
How fake is this
And they
guy?
break again and again as we hear each story. We are also deeply concerned about the 2 Canadians who are still missing and maybe among those held.
I'm just bitter because he did fool me.
Close contact
I
with
voted
their
for this
families
clown
and
in
offering
2015,
all possible
like, or
support,
the person in my
including working
riding,
with Israeli
like,
authorities to locate them as quickly as
whoops.
possible. Global Affairs and our embassies in the region continue to work tirelessly to
so
contact
bad,
and
guys.
support affected Canadians. And we are
Are
closely
you guys
engaged
broke?
with our allies and
I
partners
didn't used to be
help
broke.
people
Like,
safely
I'm
depart
broke
from
all the
Gaza,
time now.
the West Bank, and Israel as quickly and safely as possible.
So much
Our
less
government
money.
is highly
Like,
engaged, and members of our team are
I
working
live by
around
myself.
the
I
clock
own a
to
house,
help
and
impacted Canadians.
oh my
Minister
goodness.
Joly was in Israel and Jordan over the weekend, meeting with partners and leading our diplomatic efforts. Minister Blair has been ensuring the Canadian Armed
Not like
Forces
crying like
evacuation
a baby.
flights
I'm just
are
saying
getting
that
as
there's
many
less
Canadians
money
out
than
of
there
the
used to
region as
be.
possible. So far, 12 flights have left Tel Aviv with over
Something's up.
1,300 people on board.
Right?
And Minister Hussein is making sure essential aid is getting to affected people, including through the Magen David Adom in Israel. Since this crisis began, I've been reaching out to leaders in the region, including Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Abbas, to talk about freeing Canadian hostages, making sure affected people are receiving essential aid and peace, and ensuring peace and stability in the region. The situation remains volatile, and we will not stop being there for affected Canadians. We condemn the acts of Hamas unequivocally, and we are calling for the immediate release of all hostages. Canada fully supports Israel's right to defend itself in accordance with international law, and in Gaza, as elsewhere, international law, including humanitarian law, must be upheld by all. Even wars have rules. Canada will always be a friend of Israel and defend its rights, including its right to exist. Canada will not stand with those who try to uphold, and these, I remember well, Erwin, when you taught me these probably, 14 years ago as a young MP, the 3 Ds of modern anti-Semitism, the double standards, delegitimization, or demonization of Israel.
He's such a clown. Everybody agrees,
What happened
right?
on
Like,
October
give a
7th
like
is
if you think
unimaginable.
Trudeau's kind of a
The
bit of a
indiscriminate killing of
jackass.
innocent
Like,
civilians is shocking beyond
how
belief.
fake is this person?
The Hamas
Like,
terrorists committed unimaginable acts. Je tiens à l'affirmer clairement ici
Who uses
aujourd'hui,
that
comme je l'ai
voice?
fait
Like,
hier au Parlement. Le Hamas
condescending,
est une organisation
but I'm
terroriste
stupid?
qui a
Like,
massacré et
yeah.
brutalisé des personnes.
he's a
innocentes.
conundrum.
Ces gens ne sont pas des combattants pour la liberté, ce ne sont pas des résistants, ce sont des terroristes. Canada has listed Hamas as a terrorist organization for decades, and nothing can justify Hamas's acts of terror and their crimes. Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people nor their legitimate aspirations. They do not speak for Muslim or Arab communities, and they do not represent the better futures that Palestinians and their children deserve. The only thing that they stand for is more suffering for Israeli and Palestinian civilians. Hamas continues to commit unspeakable acts and are trying to instigate further acts of violence against Jewish people around the world, which of course has sent a current of fear throughout Jewish communities. You see, sadly, since this conflict broke out, there has been a very scary rise of anti-Semitism here at home, on top of the past years when we saw already a steady rise in anti-Semitism. There were reports of a possible hate crime at Tannenbaum Chat at Jewish High School in Toronto last week. I've heard stories of people who are wondering if they shouldn't wear their Star of David necklaces, if they should take their yarmulkes off in public. Families worry about what they face.
Like, he thinks
They go to
about this
synagogue.
stuff. Like, he cares
Know your
at all.
fault.
Like, he's just so
Probably
fake. I know the
encountering
people that are
hateful
watching
and
know
troubling
this,
rhetoric
but like,
online. Je le dis sans équivoque. La glorification de la violence,
how does a clown like that get into such a powerful position? Like, it's confusing, yes? Like, it is confusing. 'Cause he's just a
Our
jerk.
Minister of Public
Like,
Safety, Dominic LeBlanc, is
kind of
in
a
close
bum.
contact with the leadership of the RCMP and making sure he's aware of the leadership of the RCMP is aware
He's
of
kinda
actions being
well-spoken,
taken
I suppose.
to keep Jewish
Like,
communities safe.
yeah, he's all right.
We've continually improved and expanded the security infrastructure program.
Not lately,
so that
though. He
community
stutters so much.
institutions
Like, in Parliament,
synagogues
he's a
and
joke.
Jewish day schools can make needed investments. In 2015, when our government took office, this program only had about $1 million worth of funding. Since then, it has grown to over $15 million. I wish it hadn't existed at all. I wish we didn't need it, but we do, and we're going to continue to be there, listening to your concerns and keeping investing in ways to keep your community safe. Yesterday, we appointed Deborah Lyons as Canada's new Special Envoy on preserving Holocaust remembrance and combating anti-Semitism. She takes over for my good friend, a remarkable scholar and advocate for the Jewish community and human rights around the world, Erwin Kotler. Erwin, thank you for having served as Canada's first special envoy, but thank you more for everything you have brought and continue to bring to Canada in so many ways. And Ariel, thank you for giving him permission to continue to work as hard as he
thank you
does.
for wrapping it up, Justin. Like, again, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that I have more Pierre
As
Poilievre coming
Erwin
up
always
right
reminds
after
me,
this,
Ariel
but
was quicker to jump in support of my leadership
I
than
might
he
be
was.
losing track. I should have written
I
it
always
down. I
remember that,
didn't.
dearie. Erwin
Oh
has
God!
been
I thought he was.
a
I thought he was wrapping
friend
up.
and a mentor and an inspiration for me for many years.
Shut up.
And I have been incredibly
Sit
lucky
down.
to be able to work alongside you in so many moments.
Trudeau
And I'm
sucks.
so glad that we have you here with us, not just tonight, but in these incredibly trying moments, to continue to share your strength and your wisdom with us all. Merci beaucoup, mon cher.
Let's get some likes because we're getting rid of
Deborah,
Trudeau.
of course.
Oh
is a
my God,
remarkable
how many
woman
people
with
is he gonna
decades of
thank?
Experience in international relations. She's an unfailing ally of the Jewish community, and I mention her in this respect because I want all of you in this room to know that you are not alone. The work of fighting hate, of fighting Holocaust denial, is not yours alone. Every one of us must confront this challenge together. When we see or hear anti-Semitism, all Canadians, especially non-Jewish Canadians, need to stand up
Hi,
and step
Irene.
up.
What's up? I'll say hello to everybody. Dimebag, Reed, Easy G, like
That
Doug.
is why all
what's
members
up?
of our government stand with you unequivocally in your work.
This guy Trudeau, we
Respect
got to get
for
rid
each
of him
other.
somehow.
It's who we are as a country.
So
Our
I'm
diversity
showing
is
Canadians,
our
let
strength.
them make up their own
In
minds.
Canada,
Just
liberty
trying to show
never
them
means taking away the
Trudeau
freedoms
so
of
they
others.
know, like,
It's about living
any
in a
other
way that
option is a better
expands
option.
and strengthens freedom
kind of it.
for everyone. As Canada, as Canadians, we have proven that a country can be built on and defined by shared values, not by religion or ethnicity or history or culture or language, but shared values. And even though those values are being put to the test once again, I want to say it again.
Hi, Donna.
You are not alone. I know this is an incredibly difficult time. There is a saying that Jewish communities have repeated for generations in times like these, and I hope it gives you some comfort now. Gum ze ya'avor.
What?
This too shall pass.
He's blinking his eyes like he understands the
All
language.
Canadians
Like,
stand with you
oh
in
my
your
God.
grief.
It's
We will
embarrassing,
protect your
kinda.
rights and freedoms
Kinda.
and security here in Canada so you can continue to live publicly and proudly Jewish lives. We will get
God
through
bless
this
Jewish
together,
people,
my friends.
obviously.
Merci beaucoup.
I've got nothing ever against any Jewish people. Oh God. Okay, I've got a bad one. This might be Trump and
Thank you.
Trudeau like doing a press conference, which I meant to show just to show how awkward it is.
Mr. Trudeau,
I'm not a Trump
behalf
fan.
of all
I'm also
Americans, I
not
thank you
against Trump.
for
I don't
being
care.
with us
He's
today.
not anybody
It is
that
my
has
honor to
anything
host
to do
such a
with my
great
country.
friend,
So
neighbor and ally at the White House. Very special place.
it's kind of funny.
This
like,
year, Canada celebrates the 150th year
it's kind
of
of it just
Confederation.
is funny.
For Americans, this is one of the many
That
milestones in our
is
friendship
Close to the
And we look
most
forward,
popular
very much
person
forward,
on
I
the
must say.
planet.
to many more to come.
How can
Our
that
two
be?
nations share
I
much
don't know.
more
Doesn't make
than
sense.
a border. We share the same values. We share the
Oh
love
my God.
and a truly great love of freedom, and we share a collective defense.
I'm sorry to offend
American
anybody
and
that
Canadian
hates
troops have
Trump.
gone to
but
battle together,
you shouldn't hate Trump.
fought
Like
wars
you shouldn't hate
together, and
anybody.
forged the special bonds that come when two nations have shed their blood together, which we have.
He's a sign
In
of
these
the
dangerous
times.
it is more
Like,
important than ever that we
that's all.
continue to strengthen our vital alliance. The United States is deeply grateful for Canada's contribution to the counter-ISIS effort. Thank you.
Hopefully you'll
And we
find this
continue to work in
entertaining
common-
somewhat. If you have
and
to
in
go
common
because you hate
cause
Trump, then
against
go.
terrorism.
But
and work in
you
common
shouldn't hate
cooperation
these
toward
politicians. They're all
reciprocal trade
slime. Like,
and shared growth.
so.
We understand that both of our countries are stronger when we join forces in matters of international commerce. Having more jobs and trade right here in North America is better for both the United States and is also much better for Canada. We should coordinate closely, and we will coordinate closely to protect jobs in our hemisphere and keep wealth on our continent and to keep everyone safe. Prime Minister, I pledge to work with you in pursuit of our many shared interests. This includes a stronger trading relationship between the United States and Canada. It includes safe, efficient, and responsible cross-border travel and migration. And it includes close partnership on domestic and international security. America is deeply fortunate to have a neighbor like Canada. We have before us the opportunity to build even more bridges and bridges of cooperation and bridges of commerce. Both of us are committed to bringing greater prosperity and opportunity to our people. We just had a very productive meeting with women business leaders from the United States and Canada, where we discussed how to secure
Also
everything
known
that we
as
know
business
the
leaders.
full power of women can do better than anybody else. We know that.
He's 30 years behind.
I just want to
it's kinda
say,
funny.
Mr. Prime Minister, that I'm focused and you're focused on the important role women play in our economies. We must work to address the barriers faced by women and women entrepreneurs, including access to capital, access to markets, and very importantly, access to networks. In our discussion today, we will focus on improving the ways our government and our governments together can benefit citizens of both the United States and Canada, and in so doing, advance the greater peace and stability of the world. Mr. Prime Minister, I look forward to working closely with you to build upon our very historic friendship. There are incredible possibilities for us to pursue Canada and the United States together. Again, thank you for joining us, and I know our discussions will be very, very productive for the future of both countries. Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr.
What do you think Trudeau's going to say
Good
now?
afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd
Act
first
like a
like to
big
start
boy?
by extending my sincere thanks to President Trump for inviting me down to Washington. Any day I get to visit our southern neighbors is a good day in my books, particularly when it's so nice and warm compared to what it is back home. We are suffering under a significant winter storm that's hitting our Atlantic provinces particularly harsh, so I just want to send everyone back at home my thoughts as they shovel out and impress on everyone to stay safe. Le président et moi avons eu une première rencontre très productive aujourd'hui. Nous avons eu la chance d'apprendre à mieux se connaître et surtout de parler de la relation unique qu'entretiennent le Canada et les États-Unis. For generations, citizens on both sides of the 49th parallel have understood that the bond between our nations is a special one. No other neighbors in the entire world are as fundamentally linked as we are. We've fought in conflict zones together, negotiated environmental treaties together, including 1991's historic air quality agreement. And we've entered into groundbreaking economic partnerships that have created good jobs for both of our peoples. Canadians and Americans alike share a common history, as well as people-to-people ties that make us completely and totally integrated. Our workers are connected by trade, transportation, and cross-border commerce. Our communities rely on each other for security, stability, and economic prosperity. Our families have long lived together and worked together. We know that more often than not, our victories are shared. And just as we celebrate together, so too do we suffer loss and heartbreak together. Through it all, the foundational pillar on which our relationship is built is one of mutual respect. And that's a good thing, because as we know, relationships between neighbors are pretty complex, and we won't always agree on everything. But because of our deep, abiding respect for one another, we're able to successfully navigate those complexities and still remain the closest of allies and friends. Make no mistake, at the end of the day, Canada and the US will always remain each other's most essential partner. And today's conversations have served to reinforce how important that is for both Canadians and Americans. As we know, 35 US states list Canada as their largest export market, and our economies benefit from the over $2 billion in two-way trade that takes place every single day. Millions of good middle-class jobs on both sides of the border depend on this crucial partnership. Maintaining strong economic ties is vital to our mutual success, and we're going to continue to work closely together over the coming years so that Canadian and American families can get ahead. Comme nous le savons, le Canada représente le plus grand marché d'exportation pour 35 États américains et nos économies profitent d'échanges commerciaux bilatéraux dont la valeur s'élève à 2 milliards de dollars à chaque jour. Des millions de bons emplois bien rémunérés pour la classe moyenne des deux côtés de la frontière dépendent de ce partenariat crucial. Entretenir des liens économiques solides est essentiel à notre succès mutuel et nous allons continuer de travailler ensemble au cours des prochaines années pour que les familles canadiennes et américaines puissent continuer à prospérer. I'd like to highlight just a few of the specifics that President Trump and I discussed today. At the end of the day, the President and I share a common goal. We both want to make sure that hard-working folks can go to work at a good job, put food on the table for their families, and save up to take a vacation every once in a while. That's what we're trying to do here. Today, we reiterated that our nations are committed to collaborating on energy infrastructure projects that will create jobs while respecting the environment. And as we know, investing in infrastructure is a great way to create the kind of economic growth that our countries so desperately need. In that same vein, we know that ensuring equal opportunities for women in the workforce is essential for growing the economy and maintaining American and Canadian competitiveness on the world stage. As such, the President and I have agreed to the creation of the Canada-United States Council for Advancement of Women Entrepreneurs and Business Leaders. This initiative is more than just about dollars and cents. This is about ensuring that women have access to the same opportunities as men and prioritizing the support and empowerment of women who are senior business leaders and entrepreneurs. In doing so, we'll grow the Canadian and American economies and help our businesses prosper. Et finalement, le président Trump et moi avons convenu de travailler ensemble pour freiner le trafic d'opioïdes qui traverse notre frontière. L'augmentation de l'usage illégal d'opioïdes dans notre société n'est rien de moins qu'une tragédie. Nous allons faire tout ce que nous pouvons pour assurer la sécurité des Canadiens et des Américains. Mesdames et Messieurs, Président Trump, je sais que si nos pays continuent de travailler ensemble, nos citoyens en ressortiront gagnants. History has demonstrated time and again that in order to tackle our most pressing issues, both foreign and domestic, we must work with our closest allies, learn from each other, and stand in solidarity as a united voice. With a level of economic and social integration that is unmatched on the world stage, Canada and the United States will forever be a model example of how to be good neighbors. Winston Churchill once said, "That long Canadian frontier from the Atlantic to the Pacific Oceans, guarded only by neighborly respect and honorable obligations, is an example to every country and a pattern for the future of the world." That, my friends, is the very essence of the Canada-US relationship. I look forward to working with President Trump over the coming years to nurture and build upon this historic partnership. Once again, it's a tremendous pleasure to be here in Washington. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll take a couple of questions.
Oh, well, I guess that's going to wrap that part up. So, as a treat, because everybody has been so patient with watching Trudeau, which I think is almost impossible for me to stomach. Like, I'm just a guy, like, I'm pretty normal, but when I watch Trudeau, because I used to trust him, I feel like he's somebody that it's not just betraying me, but is betraying everybody that I know and seems to be pretty comfortable with it. That's an issue for me. Anyhow, we're going to flip
Hey guys,
this one
what's
on.
up? Aaron here. Have we got an exciting
think
video
it's
for
pretty
you?
fun.
You're aware that Greg Fergus, the new House Speaker, has been having great difficulty with Poilievre and the Conservatives. He tries to demonstrate his authority today. It doesn't go very well. He gets rejected. They keep hitting back, and he keeps trying to control everything. It's ridiculous. Let's take a peek. It starts off with Poilievre. We'll show that, and then what else goes on. We'll show you all of it. It's interesting. Check it out.
The Prime Minister promised that Wednesdays would be Prime Minister's question period. His public itinerary indicates he's in Ottawa, and he was even spotted in the building. So the question is for the Prime Minister about the carbon tax chaos he has unleashed. He's paused the tax on some heat for some people, leading the government of Alberta to threaten a lawsuit, the government of Saskatchewan to threaten not to collect the tax, NDP provincial parties in the West even turning against it, and some First Nations saying the entire thing is illegal. Will he reverse all of this chaos and just axe the tax?
Yeah, so Poilievre fires that shot, and then Fergus steps in.
Before I have the Honourable Minister answer the question, I just want to remind all members it's important not to do indirectly what you can't do directly. As the Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let's...
So this happens the very next time Poilievre gets up. This is Poilievre.
The question was for the Prime Minister. That's right. He has unleashed carbon tax chaos across the country. After saying he would never bend, he backed down because I kept beating him in these debates in the House of Commons. And he put a 2-year pause on some heating oil for some people, causing Saskatchewan to threaten not to collect the tax, Alberta to threaten a lawsuit, 6 provinces coming out against the plan, First Nations saying it's illegal. If he's so proud of himself and what he's done, then why won't he stand up now and defend it?
So there's Poilievre just being told to stop by Greg, but he doesn't. So what is Fergus going to do? We'll see.
Again, I ask all members, please, if you do not have the floor, to refrain from speaking so that we can hear the question and we can hear the answer. The Honourable Minister.
Now I understand the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have done unto you, but this is Canadian politics. It's a different game. Greg and his decorum ideas don't fit. Poilievre won't take it.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Now the carbon tax chaos continues. The incoming leader of the Liberal Party, Mark Carney, has weighed in and said that he, quote, I would have looked for other ways to provide support than the route chosen, not least of because what is important is that clarity in terms of the overall plan, the overall direction. So now we have an incoming Liberal leader taking pot shots at an outgoing Liberal Prime Minister who is in hiding. How much longer can Canadians deal with this carbon tax chaos before we get an election and choose a common sense Conservative candidate?
Now Poilievre has been told a couple of times by Craig Fergus to keep the decorum fair, to not mention who's in the House and who's not. And now he just said that the Prime Minister is hiding. So what's next?
Colleagues, before I pass on to the Parliamentary Secretary to answer the question, I'd like to remind all members, and out of profound respect to the position and the office of the Leader of the Opposition, I again want to remind all members to please take a look at the statement which I made regarding decorum in the House in terms of understanding what all members have to do in terms of their work. I'll pass on the question to the Parliamentary Secretary to respond.
So it's really interesting what happens here. The Liberals start flipping on him. It's weird. They start breaking the rules.
Secretary to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's 2023, and if you don't have a plan to fight climate change and protect the environment, then you don't have a plan for the economy or for affordability either. And it's very clear that the Conservative plan is just to cut funding for social services like the Canada Child Benefit and our dental plan and seniors funding and the dental benefit, which has just recently surpassed 200,000 children, Mr. Speaker. The Conservative plan to fix global inflation by cutting people's services is not going to work. It's risky, irresponsible, and it's absolutely reckless, just like the Conservative leader.
So I think it surprised Fergus a little bit to have that happen. He does react a little bit. You can see it.
Again, I'd like to remind all members in the questions and their answers is that you will want to make sure that you are not impugning to individual members questions that I raised regarding their courage, their intelligence, or even their presence in the House. I ask all members, please, to exercise some great restraint and decorum. We can have passionate debates in this House, and there are ways which we can do so within the rules that have been established by this place. The Honourable...
This is one of the strangest parts. Everybody was behaving just before this happens, but Fergus stands up and says this.
Before I give the floor to the Honourable Member for Saint Jean, I would just like to encourage all members who have not been recognized by the Speaker to please leave the floor to those who have been recognized to ask their questions and to answer questions. The Honourable Member for Saint Jean.
The new Speaker, Greg Fergus, just isn't getting it. They're not listening. A few minutes later, Poilievre was back on deck and swinging hard.
This Liberal senator, Mr. Percy Down, wrote, and I quote, "The opportunity for a Conservative government has been created by a lack of fiscal responsibility by the Liberal government, and the damage it has caused our economy is now showing up in the opinion polls. Within the Liberal Party, many members who are in favor of fiscal responsibility have given up on this current iteration of the Liberal Party, and hence the leader should resign. Yet he won't stand and answer questions, even though his itinerary shows that he was in this building today. If he won't show up and do his job, why won't he get out of the way? Because I will."
Well, so we know Mr. Speaker's a bit of a weird bird. How is he going to deal with that? This is what he does. He's odd. So try to listen to the insults that are being hurled at him. They're hysterical.
Clean house. Clean the rot out of this house. Bring the excess.
Over the last 2 weeks, many members have taken upon themselves to quote my statement back to me, and I'm quite happy to defend that statement. As your chair, again, I will say that it is important for us to recognize that all members have duties, all members of this House, regardless of which side you have, which sometimes takes them out of this chamber to do their duties. That's the reason, that is the reason why that we try
Come on.
to mention whether or not the member is present or not in the House. It's part of the duties. So,
Greg Fergus is terribly awkward all the time, every time, all the time.
The Honourable House Leader is going to answer this question.
So then, the very next thing that happens, Karina Gould, the boring clown, she flips out. She's a Liberal, but she flipped. Here it is.
Speaker, I find the last thing that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition said
She's
particularly
got an
troubling.
alien baby
It is
growing
Canadians
inside her,
who decide
13
who
months
sits in
pregnant.
this House
Only
and
2 months
not
left.
the leader of
Like,
the
for an
opposition.
alien
Mr.
baby.
Speaker,
And
let me be very clear that it's troubling, but it's not surprising. Because when he was the Minister of Democratic Reform, Mr. Speaker, he made it harder for 150,000 of Canada's most vulnerable citizens to vote. He was also sanctioned by Elections Canada for violating electoral law. While what he's saying is completely inappropriate, it is unsurprising given his track record and his lack of respect for democracy.
hi, Marie. What's up? I'm actually starting to feel bad for Mr. Speaker. I was
Greg
starting
Fergus.
to feel
Like,
bad back then.
I
am
was.
actually starting to feel bad a little bit. Not that much, a little bit. It's kind of funny. But what is he going to say about that? I was starting to feel bad back then. I don't feel bad at all now. Like, somebody actually says, sit down and shut up. They yell it. It's pretty funny.
It is so important. Colleagues, hello.
Order.
Colleagues, it is important, once again, to not call in.
Sit down and shut
May I
up.
ask
Like,
the
right
member,
there. That's
please,
the funniest part.
from Surrey to please.
Like, he knows who said it. Like,
allow me to
crazy.
continue. Colleagues,
allow me to continue.
Like,
what?
I ask all members to please exercise discretion. These are the things which you all raised with me and others in terms of improving the discretion. So I'm going to ask the Honourable Leader of the colleagues.
Oh my God.
May I ask all colleagues, excuse me, colleagues, temperatures are running hot. Temperatures are running hot today.
Such a weirdo, man.
If I could ask all members, please, to sit down. May I ask all members to respectfully sit down, please? All members. May I ask all members to respectfully sit down until I recognize them to speak? Please.
Look at him. He's so awkward and weird. He just stands there.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Yes, everybody, that's why I love Canadian politics. It's so weird. He did finally sit down and shut up. Somebody yelled that at him. Crazy. So fun. Like and subscribe. We'll be following this. We'll be covering all the stories. So Canadian politics, eh? Check it out. We'll catch you next time. Have a good night. Interested Canadian voters need to see this. They can make up their own minds, but they need to see this. Hey folks, Aaron right here. How you doing? Question Period Canada. In this segment, which we call Answer the Damn Question, we'll be showing an answer and then the question and trying to sift out how honest or dishonest the answer was. I believe if Canadians see it, they'll be able to judge for themselves. This is Ari Farani. He's the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General of Canada. He's answering a question from a wild MP named Damien Currick from Alberta. When you hear the answer, it makes you wonder, what was the question?
Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to food security, we always have to remember that the breadbasket of the world is a country called Ukraine. And I'm going to use the title of that country deliberately, because when you can't...
Order. temperature down just a little bit so we can get through this. Interpretation is a challenge, a lot of cases when there's lots of noise in the chamber. The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General, 21 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, I use the term Ukraine deliberately because when I hear somebody who aspires to lead this nation incapable of saying the term Ukraine and calling that nation that is fighting for its very existence a faraway foreign land, I find that not just disrespectful to our ally, I find that actually immoral. And we on this side of the House will stand by Ukraine.
So with that answer, I'm very curious to know what kind of a crazy question Kirk would have asked Verani about the Ukraine. The floor kind of blew up and Verani was heated. Loves the Ukraine.
That's my friend from Battle River Crowfoot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's embarrassing deflection from the party that sent a gas turbine back to Russia that is funding Putin's war.
Damien Kirk is pretty great.
They have so much to answer for and how they have abandoned Ukraine where it counts. Now, Mr. Speaker, Darren is a turkey farmer that I spoke to.
But he stays on course.
$30,000 in the last year in the carbon tax. By the time it's quadrupled, it will be almost 120 grand. Mr. Speaker, my question to those Liberals is simple. Do they expect him to raise costs or to cut back production so that Canadians are forced to import food from polluting foreign jurisdictions?
So Kirk's question was for Canadian farmers and what they're supposed to do in dealing with the carbon tax. Put it on grocery prices, or are Canadians supposed to import food from more polluting countries? Let's take a quick look at Verani's answer again to see if he's covering what Kirk's question involved, which was Canadian farmers and the fallout of the carbon tax and that tax plan.
Mr. Speaker, I use the term Ukraine deliberately because when I hear somebody who aspires to lead this nation incapable of saying the term Ukraine and calling that nation that is fighting for its very existence a faraway foreign land, I find that not just disrespectful to our ally, I find that actually immoral. And we on this side of the House will stand by Ukraine.
Just going to point this out right quick. Kirk was capable of saying the term Ukraine.
They have so much to answer for and how they have abandoned Ukraine where it counts. Now, Mr. Speaker, Darren.
So now you've seen the answer twice. You've seen the question once. Who do you think was being more honest with Canadians? It's not for me to decide. I'm just showing you what happened. If you're an interested Canadian voter like I am, but don't know exactly how we got here or how we're going to get out, like and subscribe. We'll be discovering all the details, who the power players are, what happened, and where we're going. Thank you very much for watching the video. I'm Aaron. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Interested Canadian voters need to see this. They can make up their own minds, but they need to see this first. Hey folks, what's up? Aaron here, Question Period Canada. How you doing? In this segment, which we call Answer the Damn Question, we'll be looking at an answer and then the question, and from that we'll try to sift out if the answer was honest or dishonest. I believe if Canadians see it, they'll be able to judge for themselves. This is Francois Philippe Champagne. He's the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry for Canada. He is rattled by this question that Mike Barrett asked. He's an MP from Ontario, used to be a military guy, but whatever he asked certainly has FPC on the attack.
Mr. Speaker, for Canadians watching at home, they're seeing the conservative ideology in full display, Mr. Speaker. These folks are so against climate change, Mr. Speaker, that they'll go after anyone and any organization that wants to fight climate change, even an organization that was voted 20 years ago by Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Now they want to attack the integrity of one of the most respected audit firm in this country, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we'll get to the bottom of this, but we'll keep investing in clean technology. We'll keep investing to fight climate change. We'll keep investing in Canadians.
The honourable member of Leeds Grenville, $1,000.
So what kind of a wild and woolly question about the environment do you think Mike Barrett asked FPC?
Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
The NDP Liberal government's billion-dollar green or greed slush fund is in a crisis of corruption. The CEO resigned in disgrace. The Liberal-appointed board chair resigned in disgrace. The Auditor General is investigating. The Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner is investigating 2 Liberal appointees. And this week, we heard from whistleblowers that $150 million was embezzled by Liberal insiders. Canadians want to know, where did the missing millions go and who got rich?
Barrett's question had to do with $150 million of taxpayer money that's missing, embezzlement, slush funds, and are Canadians going to get their money back? Who got rich? FPC's answer? Let's take a second look.
Watching at home, they're seeing the conservative ideology in full display, Mr. Speaker. These folks are so against climate change, Mr. Speaker, that they'll go after anyone and any organization that wants to fight climate change, even an organization that was voted 20 years ago by Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Now they want to attack the integrity of one of the most respected audit firm in this country, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we'll get to the bottom of this, but we'll keep investing in clean technology. We'll keep investing to fight climate change. We'll keep investing in Canadians.
The honourable member of Leeds Grenville, Thousand Islands.
So now you've seen the answer twice, you heard the question once. Who do you think was being more honest with Canadians? It's not for me to decide. I'm just showing you what happened. If you're an interested Canadian voter like I am and don't know exactly how we got into this mess or how we're gonna clean it up, comment, subscribe. We're looking for more people. We've got a great community started already. There's a lot of positive thinkers wanting to know how are we going to fix things. I'm a logistician by trade, and when you have an issue like this, you trace it back to what the real cause is, and that's what we're doing. Like and subscribe. I'm Aaron. This is Question Period Canada, and we have a good time with Canadian politics and a really tough time. Got to figure it out. We'll catch you next video. Thank you for watching. Hey guys, what's up? Aaron here, Question Period Canada. We've got an exciting episode for you today. We're going to be focusing on the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and some of the members of Parliament that are members of this organization. We'll first do a little check into what the WEF is, and then we'll get into the politicians. Let's check it out. The World Economic Forum is an international, non-governmental and lobbying organization for multinational companies based in Colony, Canton of Geneva, Switzerland. It was founded on January 24, 1971 by German engineer Klaus Schwab. The foundation, which is mostly funded by its 1,000 member companies, typically global enterprises with more than $5 billion in turnover, as well as public subsidies, views its own mission as improving the state of the world by engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas. So that's just the tip of the iceberg with the WEF. It's worth looking into. That sounds nice there when you put the history together, but I think they're up to something else. That's not for me to say in this video. That's for another video. Right now, we're going to take a look at our MPs that are members of this organization. Do you recognize this jackass? Consider me once bitten, twice shy. This is Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada and a member of the WEF. Do you recognize the Wicked Witch of the West? No. This is Chrystia Freeland, our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Chrystia Freeland is the worst. She's a real sour patch. She's terrible. And who's this clown looking ponsive? He's not thinking. He's trying to figure out how to chew his gum. That's a dancing fool, Sean Lawless. He's the Minister of Housing for Canada, and he's a dancing fool. He just can't stand still, guys. And this is Gollum. Just kidding. This is Francois-Philippe Champagne. He's the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry. He is also a member of the World Economic Forum. He goes pretty crazy on the parliamentary floor sometimes. Oh no, it's boring time. It's Karina Gould. She's the most boring clown on the floor. She's currently the leader of the government in the House of Commons. She's terrible, guys. She's such a slow talker and boring. And what have we here? A pretty young woman?
Oh my goodness, this is Melanie Jolie, another member of the WEF. She is also the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Canada. She does seem really great until she opens her mouth. And now this specimen is fresh off the stool after getting a bowl haircut from her mom. This is Jeanette Petitpas-Taylor. She is also a member of the WEF. She's currently the Minister of Official Languages for Canada. Yep. She just got a haircut. All right, everybody. From her mom. We're going to wrap it up for now. There are so many more Liberal MPs that are part of the World Economic Forum. We'll be covering that and getting deeper into what the World Economic Forum really is. It's interesting and scary. So tune in for those. Like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with lots more. We'll catch you later. Thanks for watching. Hey there everyone, Aaron here, Question Period Canada. We've got an exciting video to show. We met a wild one last night. Stephanie Kusi, she's an MP from Mindapore, Alberta, and she flips out about the Arrive Can Scam app. Boy oh boy, she lets the Liberals have it. Finger pointing, accusations, it's exciting. Let's take a peek. It's pretty funny too. Let's look.
Colleagues, I would appreciate if you give your attention to the next speaker who is being recognized by the speaker, the member from Calgary, Mindapore.
Damning new information revealed today shows that Arrive Can contractors submitted receipts to the government for a company that doesn't even exist. Wow. This investigation already includes allegations of identity theft, forged resumes, contractual theft, fraudulent billing, price fixing, and collusion in the creation of the $54 million Arrive Can app. How much worse can this boondoggle get? Simple question, which Liberal insiders got rich?
Who got rich?
Did she say boondoggle? So over $50 million missing with the Arrive Can app scam. That's an issue. Stephanie Kusi, if you didn't know her name before, you won't forget now. She's an MP from Mindapore, Alberta, and she certainly let the Liberals have it. It was a lot of fun. That's what we're doing here. Canadian politics with humor. So like and subscribe if that sounds like your thing. We'll be making lots of videos, already lots out there. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, how are you? My name's Aaron. This is Question Period Canada. I've got a question for you. Whatever happened to the Alan Reyes story? He's an orphan MP, used to be a Conservative, now he's an Independent, but for the last month he's been trying to break this Governor General scandal. Outrageous spending, and he's got numbers to back them up. I don't know where they come from, but he's got numbers. It's outrageous spending. We're going to be taking a look at the Governor General, what that role is, Alan Reyes, a little history there, and then actually what's been happening in Parliament and how the media is ignoring it. Let's take a closer look. I've been working hard current at Governor General of Canada is Mary Simon, who was sworn in on 26th I'm not trained in any of this, right? She's an Inuk leader from Nunavut in Quebec. Simon is the first Indigenous person to hold the office. She was nominated on July 6, 2021 to replace Julie Payette, who had resigned in January. Richard Wagner, the Chief Justice of Canada, had served as Administrator of the Government of Canada in the interim. Let's take a peek what the role includes, where it comes from, how it's chosen. The King, on the advice of his Canadian Prime Minister, appoints a Governor General to carry on the Government of Canada in the King's name, performing most of his constitutional and ceremonial duties. Yes, so King Charles, on the advice of Prime Minister Trudeau, chose Mary Simon as the 30th Governor General of Canada for his ceremonial duties. That's it, really. It's kind of a BS position. So now let's take a quick look at Alan Reyes. He's an orphan MP, used to be a Conservative, now he's an Independent. How did that happen? Let's find out. Alan Reyes was first elected in 2015 as a Conservative for the Richmond-Athabasca area of Quebec. He remained a Conservative until 2022, when after Pierre Poilievre won the Conservative leadership race, he left the caucus, said he couldn't see eye to eye with Pierre Poilievre. They had different views. Now we know a little bit about Mary Simon, the position of the Governor General, and a little bit about Alan Reyes. Let's get into the scandal. This broke a few weeks back. Alan Reyes brought this to Parliament during question period.
The Honourable Member for Richmond-Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, after the Governor General's lavish spending on international travel, we've learned her office spent over $117,000 on dry cleaning since 2018, an average of $1,800 per month. For fun, I did some calculations based on the going rate for these services. At the rates she's been spending, that's an average of 3 outfits a day, 365 days a year.
Crazy,
Why doesn't the
right?
government cut her $33 million budget? What are they waiting for? Because she's clearly incapable of managing taxpayers' money seriously and responsibly.
So he drops that bomb, $1,800 a month on dry cleaning.
Imagine!
For 3 years. That's a ridiculous amount of money, no doubt. The place got really quiet. Pascal Saint-Onge, the Minister of Canadian Heritage, had this little bit to say, and then it was over. Check it out.
The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Mr. Speaker, the Governor-General has done important work for Canada. Obviously, we expect every dollar she spends to be done in a rigorous and conscientious way. Thank you.
Well, this brings to the end of question period.
We found it to be a really exciting story at the time, so we ran it, we made a video on it. It got some views, people liked it, but there was no major media covering this, and I was wondering when would the next time be that I'd hear about this story. Took a little while till Alan Reyes came back with more. Before we show the next clip, I want to mention that the first one took place on October 16th. That's when it started.
The Honourable Member for Richmond, Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, every time we ask questions about the Governor-General's indecent spending, the government gets a little offended. They pay lip service, but nothing is done to change the culture of this institution. The Governor-General spends thousands on meals, alcoholic beverages, luxury hotels, trips, cleaning services, just to name a few. Imagine on a single plane trip, she even spent nearly $1,000 on slices of lime and lemon. You couldn't make this up. So I repeat my question to the government. Does the government intend to cut its $33 million budget because clearly it doesn't seem to be able to manage taxpayers' money seriously and responsibly?
So October 16th, he drops the initial scandal, and then he follows up, this is October 30th. There's a lot going on here, guys. $1,800 a month for years on laundry, dry cleaning. $1,000 on lemon wedges on a flight. Where were you flying? Mars? Anyhow, deja vu here. Pascal Saint-Onge, Minister of Canadian Heritage, is back to give a very short answer, and then they shut down question period. It might have been ending anyway.
The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Governor-General does important work for Canada here and throughout the world. And of course, we expect all public office holders to spend every dollar with respect, with rigour, and in a conscientious way, respecting all Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Unfortunately, that concludes and brings us to the end of our question period.
So I was glad that Alan Reyes was sticking to his guns and not letting that story go, but I couldn't understand why the Canadian media, no major media anywhere, is covering this story. It's a scandal, guys. At least should be investigated. $1,000 on lemon wedges, $1,800 a month on dry cleaning, 3 years. It's scandalous, guys. So that's strange that the media is not touching this story. We ran it again, and it was popular on this channel, but no major media is touching it. Alan Reyes, I kind of thought was just going to go away with this story, but he didn't. He came back with more. So let's take a peek at where the scandal is now and what Alan Reyes brought to Parliament again. So this is taking place on November 8th, just so you know, November 8th.
Mr. Speaker, for weeks now, I've been asking questions about the Governor-General's outrageous spending. Every time I get answers from ministers who feign offense and criticize reluctantly, but do nothing to change the ingrained culture of this institution. Meanwhile, GGs come and go, but the extravagant spending on meals, booze, luxury hotels, travel, and dry cleaning marches merrily along. So I ask the Prime Minister today, does his government intend to cut her $33 million budget? Because
$33 million?
She doesn't seem to be able to manage taxpayers'
on lemon
money
wedges
carefully
and laundry?
responsibly.
So for the third time, Alan Reyes brings his concerns about the Governor-General's ludicrous spending to question period. But today, Justin Trudeau is in the House, so we'll get a straight answer about the Governor-General's spending, won't we?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Governor General, Mary Simon, is an upstanding, humane, caring person, and she plays an important role in our society and democracy. We will continue to see to it that her spending is managed appropriately, but the fact is she has a very important role for the stability and future of our democracy. Unfortunately.
And unfortunately, this concludes question period.
That right there is why I can't trust Trudeau anymore. This scandal, and that's how he defends it, says that she's an upstanding, caring, wonderful person, whatever. This ludicrous spending is being ignored. I don't know why the scandal isn't being touched by major media. We're covering it and trying to get the story out there so that you know, trying to make Canadian politics fun. I don't know where this goes. We'll be following it. That just about wraps it up, guys. We know a little bit more about the Governor General's role, who the Governor General is. We know about the MP that's trying to break the story. We'll be covering it right here on Question Period Canada. Like and subscribe. We're doing lots of things with Canadian politics, trying to make it fun, trying to make it informative as well, while it's being fun. That's it. My name's Aaron, Question Period Canada. Thanks for checking us out. Catch you next time. Canadians do need to see this stuff. They can make up their own minds, but they need to see it first. Howdy folks, what's up? Aaron here, Question Period Canada. In this segment called Answer the Question, we're putting the answer and then the question, and we're going to try to sift out how honest or dishonest the answer was. I trust Canadians will be able to do it if they see it. So this is Jennifer O'Connell, the Parliamentary Secretary for Public Safety, answering a question by John Barlow, an MP from Alberta.
Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, if you want to talk about food affordability, we should talk about Ukraine as the breadbasket to the world. And what I found interesting, Mr. Speaker, and something that the Leader of the Opposition said today in response to the Prime Minister calling out the Conservatives' vote against Ukraine, is he used the term about faraway lands. And Mr. Speaker, that reminded me of something. He's, quote, "We will no longer use American military might to construct democracies in faraway lands." Donald Trump said that. Why are conservatives repeating the MAGA lines?
So I'm very curious to see the question now that John Barlow asked that would bring up Donald Trump and make America great again propaganda in Canadian Parliament.
The Prime Minister's Christmas gift to Canadians is 2 costly carbon taxes, driving up the cost of food, fuel, and home heating. But premiers and First Nations across this country are demanding that he axe a carbon tax because they know that this Prime Minister is not worth the cost. They are joining Conservatives in opposing this punitive carbon tax because Canadians can't afford Christmas dinner. Every month, 2 million Canadians are lined up at food banks because they can't afford to feed their families. When he increases taxes on farmers, those numbers get worse. Will the Prime Minister cancel his plans to quadruple the carbon tax on families, First Nations, and farmers?
So now you can see that Barlow's question was about the carbon tax and how it's negatively affecting fuel prices, inflation, heating costs, and that First Nation leaders and premiers of the provinces wanted the tax done away with. Reasonable question. Let's take a second look at Jennifer O'Connell's response.
Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, if you want to talk about food affordability, we should talk about Ukraine as the breadbasket to the world. And what I found interesting, Mr. Speaker, and something that the Leader of the Opposition said today in response to the Prime Minister calling out the Conservatives' vote against Ukraine, is he used the term about faraway
She needs to check her phone.
Mr. Speaker, that reminded me of something.
A second time.
We will no longer use American military might to construct democracies in faraway lands. Donald Trump
She's
said
a dipshit.
that. Why are conservatives repeating the MAGA lines?
Now you know the question and you've seen the answer twice. Who do you feel was being more honest with Canadians? It's up to you to decide. I'm just showing what happened. And so that's our segment called Answer the Damn Question. Who did you feel was being more honest or dishonest with Canadians in that altercation?
It's up to you to decide. My name's Aaron. This is Question Period Canada. We're having fun learning about Canadian politics, who the power players are, and how did we get here? How did we get out? Like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Everybody, what's up? Aaron here, Question Period Canada. We're here with the highlights from today's question period, which was out of hand. An MP gets kicked out of the Commons because they were so out of hand, so upset, used language they're not allowed to use. It's pretty crazy. Things are getting hot on the Hill, guys. It would seem these days like the Liberals don't mind.
Kirk was ready to pop
Canadians.
like
He would have
Commons.
punched him if he had
It's a strange
strange
thing
thing
that's
that's happening, but we're kind of onto it. I don't think they're telling the truth about some senators. Anyhow, we're going to jump in right away. Pierre's going to get us kicked off with some questions for Trudeau.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
What is shameful is that this Prime Minister is causing homelessness in this country. He's caused the doubling of the number of people eating at a food bank in Toronto. One single mother in Sydney said, well, this month I had to choose between eating and having heat. My kids are getting fed, but my house is freezing, end quote. The Prime Minister's solution is to quadruple the carbon tax on that single mother and on seniors. Mr. Speaker, we have a common sense Conservative bill to take the carbon tax off farmers and food. Why did the Prime Minister manipulate and intimidate Liberal senators into blocking that bill? Why does he want to tax food right before Christmas?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, after all the intimidation and threats from the Conservatives towards parliamentarians on 234, it turns out the only farming the Conservative Party cares about is rage farming. Because all of this was just an attempt to fundraise off of the backs of farmers. Time and time again, the Conservative leader has shown that he wants to take Canadians back to the Stone Age instead of helping them get ahead. On this side of the House, the Liberal government will always be there to support farmers.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, as this Prime Minister raises taxes on food, brings back malnutrition, brings in record-smashing food bank use, the best he can come up with is a bunch of scripted talking points from junior staffers in the PMO. That is outrageous. Canadians are going hungry as Christmas is just around the corner, and a common-sense Conservative bill to take the tax off farmers and food could have helped solve the problem. Why did he manipulate and intimidate senators to keep the tax on the food and make our people go hungry right before Christmas?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we have an opposition leader who is so ideologically opposed to protecting the planet that he's willing to take Parliament hostage and stop Parliament from supporting workers, stop Parliament from supporting families, and stop Parliament from supporting Ukraine as well. The leader of the opposition has threatened to ruin the holidays if his ideological demands are not met. Let us be clear. We will keep working for Canadians while the Conservative leader is only fueled by the sound of his own voice and has no real plan for this country. We will never back down from supporting Canadians.
You can tell that Poilievre is really pissed off today because Bill C-234 was blocked in the Senate. It wasn't supposed to go that way. It got through the Commons. It should get through the Senate. I'm sour about it too. I thought that was going to work out for Canadians. Up next, Melissa Lantzman has more questions about that Senate problem.
Member for Thornhill.
Speaker, every single senator who voted against this bill was a Liberal senator. The Prime Minister's carbon tax has already ruined Christmas for millions of Canadian families. So Conservatives are going to ruin Christmas vacation for this Prime Minister and his Liberal MPs. We will stay here as long as it takes to force them to axe the tax so the Canadians can afford gas, groceries, and home heating. So, Mr. Speaker, how long are we going to be here? Is it 1 week? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks until this Prime Minister finally relents and cancels his carbon tax on farmers, on families, and on First Nations?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you. Speaker, unlike the Conservatives who had their senators bully independent senators in the other place, we will stand up to the bullies on the other side. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to stand for Canadians every single day. And we know that when we put a price on pollution with the rebate, Canadians get more back than they pay. If the Conservatives cared about Canadians and their affordability challenges, they would support the price on pollution because it is putting money in their pockets. But typical Conservative style, they take from the poor to give to the rich. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
As much as a firecracker as Melissa Lantsman is, she couldn't get any answers out of Gould there. Nothing straight. Up next, Marilyn Glado. She's an MP from Ontario. More questions about the Senate.
The honourable member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this weekend it was the Prime Minister that was bullying the senators, calling them up and telling them to kill Bill C-234, a common sense bill to help farmers and families. And the Senate, you know, they listened to him. They gutted the bill, okay? But people are suffering. People are hungry. The food bank use in my riding is up over 100%. So will the Prime Minister finally listen to Canadians and take the carbon tax off farmers, First Nations, and families?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Look, Mr. Speaker, the party opposite continues to spread information that is simply incorrect. When they're talking about the vote in the other place, they should really be asking the Conservative senators who sit in that caucus why they didn't show up to vote yesterday. Mr. Speaker, if they truly cared about it, that would have been the question that they were asking instead of posing this to the government that has nothing to do with the independent Senate. But what we
That's a note about how there are progressive senators that are liberal senators. Like, they changed the name, that's all. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm never believing Karina Gould a word comes out of her mouth ever again. Just won't do it. Up next, though, Damien Kirk's frustrated too. He can't take any more of having people lie to his face. He loses control. It's so worth checking out. This is the highlight.
Honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday Liberal-appointed senators voted to gut common-sense Conservative Bill C-234, an action that betrays farmers. For the last decade, this PM has repeatedly made the claim that the Senate and those he appoints to it are independent, yet this weekend proved otherwise. He and his Socialist Environment Minister were busy employing a campaign of bullying and pressure to force his senators to kill this needed carbon tax carve-out. The carbon tax is punishing the farmers who produce the food and the folks that need it. Will this Prime Minister finally just listen to Canadians and axe his carbon tax?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I think my honourable colleague is well aware the other place makes a decision on their own. We do not. The Conservative Party of Canada has senators in their caucus. The Conservative Party of Canada does not have a policy or a plan for the environment. But I can assure my honourable colleague that we do have a plan for the environment, and that's why we're able to make an investment of $1.5 billion to help farmers, processors reduce their environmental
shaking and everything.
Mr.
Like,
Speaker,
it's a
we
bad
have and
look.
will continue to support our farmers
Mr.
and ranchers in
Magoo,
this
come
country.
on.
I just want to say, I mean, as I said, the Honourable Minister sits right here. I can barely hear him. So let's try to keep the sound down a little bit. The Honourable Member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, I know for a
Hang
fact
it
that
up,
farmers are
Lauren.
asking that minister to axe the carbon tax. That PM promised that the Senate would be independent, but the actions this past week prove that that is a complete farce. We know he bullied his senators. The PM himself was on the phone over the weekend telling them they had to gut Bill C-234. The Prime Minister lied, and his minions continue to
It's
lie.
awesome. It's a pretty great moment. Like, I've never seen that before. Actually called him a liar right to his face by title. That Prime Minister's a liar. What's going to happen next?
got here at the same time I did knows full well that you can't use that word. I would say the honourable member should retract that and apologize. The honourable member of Battle River Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, I will not apologize to that Prime Minister when he continues to lie about the Senate.
I'm asking the honourable member to apologize for the second time and retract that word. The honourable member knows full well you cannot use that word in this chamber. So this is the last opportunity. The honourable member of Battle River Crowfoot, will you be retracting that?
It's the truth. It's the truth. I will not apologize to the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Couric, would you mind leaving us today? So let me fill this. I have to name you for the disregarding the authority of the chair. Pursuant to the authority granted by me, Standing Order 11, I order you to withdraw from the House from any participation by video conference for the remainder of this sitting day. But he did leave.
He was gone.
I'm just gonna take a bit of a break here.
My respect for Damien Couric has gone up. I had my eye on the guy anyhow because he's well-spoken and puts his questions together really well, but right there, earned some respect. Taking one for the team, sticking to his guns, wouldn't apologize because he's so frustrated. Guess he had to take the afternoon off though. Alright guys, we're gonna get running on that highlight. I'm Aaron, this is Question Period Canada. Hope you enjoyed the show. Like and subscribe, tell somebody about what we're doing here. That's it, we're leaving for the evening. Everybody try to stay warm. Catch you tomorrow. We'll have more highlights and live review of the Question Period. Ciao for now. Interested. Alright, we've got a Christmas battle. It's between Pierre Poilievre and Justin Trudeau. They don't stop. Justin Trudeau is throwing out his Christmas wish to you and your family, and Pierre and his wife do the same thing in a different way. Let's check out the videos.
Merry Christmas, Canada. 'Tis the season to gather with friends and family, to share moments and meals with loved ones, and to give thanks for the blessings in our lives. For Christians, it's also a time to celebrate the birth of Christ and the values he embodied. Values like compassion, kindness, and hope. And while the story of Christ is being celebrated by Christians tonight, these values are universal. The holiday season is an opportunity for us all to bring comfort, joy, and light to those who need it most. So let's love our neighbors as we love ourselves and find strength in our differences. Let's give back and extend a helping hand to those who've fallen on hard times. And let's share the warmth of the season with those who are spending the holidays alone this year. That's not just the true spirit of Christmas, it's also the true spirit of Canada. My friends, whether you're continuing family traditions passed on from one generation to the next or embarking on new ones, whether you're hosting a big family gathering or celebrating with a few close friends, I hope your holidays are filled with good cheer, great company, and hope for the year ahead. And to our brave service women and men of the Canadian Armed Forces, to the first responders who work round the clock to keep us safe, and to the volunteers who give up their time to make someone else's Christmas merry and bright, thank you. You embody the eternal message and timeless truth that it is more blessed to give than to receive. Once again, from my family to yours, Merry Christmas. Let's carry the spirit of the holidays into the new year, and let's find new ways to make our communities, our country, and our world a brighter place for everyone in 2024.
I know what you're going to say. Trudeau, it's such a joke Christmas now. After a message like that, I'm watching my own thing and it's hard to laughing out loud. Let's take a look at something a little bit more, something we can relate to. Canadian politics does
Merry
this to
Christmas.
you, I guess.
Merry Christmas.
We're here with our Polyev
This is
family
kinda nice.
gift to all of you, and it is the recipe for the Better Than Bailey's Christmas drink. And what's the original name, Anna?
Ponche de crema. It's inspired by a ponche de crema.
But it's heavily Canadianized and given new and even better ingredients than the original that Anna's family brought here from Venezuela. For one, we use the great Canadian drink Crown Royal, which is probably the most Canadian thing you can imagine, invented by a Montrealer, distilled in Manitoba, using great Canadian grains. But Anna's the boss, and she will tell me how to do it, and then we will share the secret with you. One thing we ask, though, is that once you learn the secret, you're not allowed to tell anybody, because this is closely guarded secret, and there will be severe penalties for anybody who lets these secret ingredients become known. All right, let's get busy.
Let's get going. Okay, so 1 cup of half and half.
All right. You want me to?
1 teaspoon of instant coffee, spoon of almond extract, or you can do the vanilla extract, whichever you prefer. Teaspoons of chocolate syrup.
Here we go. Serious blender, 500 horsepower. Don't try this at home. Actually do. All right. Now, quality control, the most important part of it all. Oh, you give me the big cup. She's trying to get me drunk.
I'm gonna take advantage of you. I'm good.
There we go. All right. Look at that. Cheers. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone. Wow.
Deliciousness.
A couple of variations. If you're having it early in the morning, throw an espresso in it. You can also add a pinch of cinnamon. We hope that you have a great and Merry Christmas. Look forward to seeing you all in the new year.
Whose Christmas wishes do you appreciate more? Poiliev or Trudeau? Which one seemed more sincere? Put it in the comments, like and subscribe. We're having a good time with politics, learning about how it happens in Canadian Parliament. Thanks for watching. Catch you next video. Oops. So Poiliev tries to explain to Trudeau how the carbon tax. We're going to wrap this up. We've been going for a long time. Thank you all so much for watching. It's a pleasure always to hang out here with anybody that wants to watch more Canadian politics, especially people that are looking for change. No matter what that change is, it just has to be different than it is. My name's Aaron. This is Question Period Canada. We try to have a good time here as we learn about federal Canadian politics. That's it. It's been a tough Christmas season. A couple of tough years right here in my world, but we're getting through them. That's all a person can do. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Check us out next video. We'll be up here again. I'm sure we will be tomorrow. We're out. Take care.